Musikerbot, hallo. Wir befinden uns bei LsL Instruments in Kalifornien. Gitarren werden dort von Hand gebaut und der Mann dahinter ist Lance Lerman. Hier steht er neben mir und begonnen hat seine Karriere zuerst in der Holzverarbeitung für Möbel und andere Gegenstände. Allerdings hatte er es immer leid, dass seine Gitarre nicht gut klang und deswegen hat er sich Number One gebaut. Ein Shop in der Nähe, bei dem auch Freunde unterwegs waren, hat dann einfach mehr bei ihm haben wollen, weil das, was er für sich gebaut hat, war so gut, dass man es auch verkaufen kann. Eine Geschichte, die ich schon mehrmals gehört habe, zum Beispiel auch von Lyndon Laney von Laney Amplification. Hier also noch die paar Impressionen von der Number One, die mittlerweile plus minus 10 Jahre alt ist. Beschäftigen wir uns also ein wenig mit Holz in allen seinen Facetten. Das ist das Gebäude, über das wir reden, geschätzte 20 auf 20 Meter, außenrum kleine Korpus, die jeweils einen bestimmten Sinn und Zweck erfüllen, Lackierstation, Elektronik und so weiter. Startpunkt für unseren ersten Exkurs ist der Body und dort wird er gepinnt, damit man ihn sauber anzeichnen kann, dann an der Bandsäge vor- und ausgeschnitten. Allerdings nur bis zu einem doch eher sehr rudimentären Detaillierungsgrad. Danach wandert das ganze Ding auf einen Pin-Router, das heißt, Werkstück wird befestigt und mit einer Art Oberfräse von oben werden die entsprechenden Bohrungen für Pickups und ähnliches eingebracht und nochmal am Rand etwas präziser gearbeitet und eine Halstasche gemacht und alle diese Dinge, die dazugehören. Schaut es euch einfach einen Moment an. Und das ist letztendlich auch das Hightech-Elektronikgerät, was ihr bei LsL sehen werdet. Der Rest ist einfach Handarbeit. So wie man es früher gemacht hat und mit dem Wert, den er auf bestimmte Komponenten seiner Arbeit legt, erzielt er damit auch eine Güte, die die meisten Leute einfach umhaut. Allerdings sehr individuell, nicht alle gleich, und wenn man eine findet, die man mag, dann sollte man die sich besser gleich nehmen.
In the same boat, don't worry.
Und weil wir ein Familienbetrieb sind, ist die Tochter auch mit dabei und beschäftigt sich hier mit dem Body, wo sie ein Binding auch an die abgeflachte Armschräge gebracht haben. Das ist natürlich dann besonders viel Arbeit.
We're making another guitar, yet another for NAMM. This is our XT3 single hum. Two-post bridge, rear routed, single piece mahogany. Oh my God, genuine mahogany, light as a feather, one piece. And look at that piece of lumber. Oh baby, oh it's gorgeous. And we've got the binding around the arm cut. And this is all being hand contoured here right now by Katie. This will have a side input jack. Nice. Let's see how much it weighs.
Okay, Mahagoni klingt eigentlich schwerer als 1,76 Kilo, aber mehr ist es nicht. Ganz wichtig sind für Lance die Hälse und deswegen nehmen wir uns jetzt auch eine ganze Menge Zeit, um uns anzuschauen, wie er einen Hals tatsächlich baut.
And then this is a very important tool. You must use the liquid wrench for this. Go.
So most likely Fender had a different radius because he used
They don't do
peanut tins for everything.
They do this thing.
Yeah.
I do this thing.
Okay.
And then I take this high-tech device. I have a wall charger for this.
Okay.
You'll love it.
Serial charger.
Yeah. I leave room for sanding and adjusting later. It's good enough for now.
Yeah. So you're doing the rest of the distance with less harmful tools.
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive rasp.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to
Give us a hint first.
and then we'll go to, you know,
Give us a hint first what this helps you to do when you
this
pre-cut it.
we do on the pin router, and this is to set the thickness, the taper of the neck, so it's a perfect straight line.
Yeah.
And it's a little bigger than the thickness we're going to end up with, but it gives us an indicator for how much taper this neck is going to have. Sometimes there's no taper. We call that a parallel neck.
Okay.
But usually we come down about 70, 80 thousandths here, and it ends up maybe about right at about 0.93
Okay.
here when we're done, depending on my mood. And the mood determines the neck. So I'm going to give me a center line here. I'm going to give me a little parallel line here. And then here, I'm going to do something like that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to grab this finer one. I'm going to taper this so it comes up in a nice curve. And that's another reason I put that line there, so I can see when I've gone to stop. I can feel in the rasp when I've got it smooth.
After some 40 years of experience.
Yeah, I guess. That helps some, you know.
That helps, okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, and screwing up a lot shows also. Education is expensive, even when you're doing it yourself. Yeah. Make this a nice freezing curve.
Now, as you can see, this neck looks like, oh my God, it's messed up. Well, all that's going away, so now we use this baby. Now, very often, the wood kind of determines what I can do here, if I can even use this. Usually on a neck, one direction on one side, the other direction on the other side. Some pieces of wood, like very often curly or figured maple, you can't use this at all. But if we're lucky, see, now that feels okay, but I'm guessing this is going to feel better. And there we are. Just like butter. Welcome to the wonderful world of lumber.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, well, every piece is different, and every piece kind of requires its own sort of,
So how many do you lose because somewhere in the wood there's a spot you can't cure?
these days, not so many, because I'm paying a fortune for the lumber.
Okay.
We used to get a lot of mineral streaks that were buried inside, like you get a black line all of a sudden, you get halfway through the neck and oh my God, that one's trash. Nowadays, not so much.
I can feel it here, that's kind of getting to where we need to be. I'm going to go for medium C on this. Maybe slightly, that's what I like.
So now I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to grab this. The really expensive hand-cut rasp. Now in the rasp, once again, you can feel where your high spots are.
I didn't shave off here, so this is going to require a fair amount of rasp. Now bring this all the way down, like with a keyboard, almost like this is going to be even lower. And then
as we go, I take less and less material off.
Yeah, because you're getting weaker now.
You ain't kidding, dude. I'm old. I'm very old. I'm getting older by the minute. I can barely keep myself up. But I am developing a new little scooter that has a vise on it, so I can actually shape necks when I'm in the hover round.
Oh, okay, at the supermarket.
Yeah, supermarket, I have a little flag on the back end.
Okay.
But I'll still be able to shape necks. Here, so I think I'll fix that. They don't necessarily have to be symmetrical, because our hands aren't symmetrical either. So sometimes you want a little more V on top or on the bottom. And sometimes the piece of lumber just screams for it.
Has a mind of his own.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, I want it to feel good. Be smooth. Now what I'll do is I will use a very, very high-tech device known as a piece of metal scraper. And this, take out all the rasp marks and do final shaping. You can move a lot of lumber with this little piece of metal. Feel that I'm coming straight off. And then, what I will do to even this up, I'm going to find high and low spots and even them out with my handy dandy sanding block. Here you can see high spots and low spots, pretty apparent. Low, 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 high, high, high. So sand off the high spots and you end up with a true and straight neck.
If the good size is not matching the headstock, you can always make a Hendrix neck out of it.
Or a really nice door handle.
Yeah.
I mean, then I will give it a sanding with this. Once again, threw everything out. And I also round it out to the fingerboard with this, so it has a nice aged feel.
Yeah.
Then the rest, pretty much more of this. Sanding, filling holes, and more sanding. And when you're done sanding, you just sand it some more. Until you... One of the hardest parts is dealing with this. This big
There's a
bump.
dent in it.
Yeah, from the
Cutting
two
it
different
down.
operations. That's why I'm doing this neck, because this is a reject. But getting this to be a smooth transition and no dip
Yeah.
is really rather difficult. And then I remove any bumps, like here, here, all the little tiny details that take a really long time. I hold it up to the light and find any shadows, like here might be a little dip. Here's a dip. Got to smooth that out. This side looks pretty good. Needs a little work here. See the nice curve?
Yep.
And nice. So it's mostly there. The rest of it is just
Time.
sanding and making it pretty. But here, you feel it. You tell me. Not too bad. Probably still has a few bumps here and there, but right before I'm done, I check that with my fingertips.
Pretty good already, in my opinion.
Yeah, this feels actually pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I like it. This neck, I can live with this. It's got a slight V up here. You can probably see comes down hard because we had that pull out there.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite neck is slight V here, soft V, going to C here.
Turn to C, yeah.
Just like my guitar, Sherry.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like a Sherry neck right there. You can check it out later. Sort of one of my favorites. And you can see the lumber we use. Quarter sawn all the way through. Tight, straight as an arrow grain. Vertical and tight and straight. Anybody want this one? And then you got that old lumber thing staring you in the face again.
Well, you don't have to give that one a name because the name is in there already. Nobody's going to mistake it.
Naughty. I may be able to sand that out because we actually make these thick in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I still have to work on that. But you can see, after all that, it's pretty good. You know, there are always things you have to deal with, like that right there.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I have these little blocks. Smooth that kind of stuff out. This area right here is one of the toughest spots to make pretty. You got all these
Multiple directions in there.
coming together, and
But it's something you always feel when your thumb ends up in there.
Yeah.
If that doesn't feel all right.
right, it's got to be good. It's got to be real good.
Lackiert wird bei LsL mit Nitro. Über Nitrolacke kann man sich natürlich vortrefflich streiten. Im Wesentlichen kommt es aber egal bei welchem Lack darauf an, dass man ihn möglichst dünn aufbringt, damit der Korpus und die Vibrationen nicht eingekesselt werden. Das kann man in dem Bereich Voodoo tun. Ich habe sowas in sowohl der Form Poly ganz dünn als auch Nitro ganz dünn und ich finde es einfach nur cool. Danach wird entsprechend poliert und wir brauchen natürlich auch noch ein bisschen Elektronik und das macht man wie eigentlich überall in Kalifornien selbst.
So the neck does not fit. I can't put it in. What we'll do is we'll hand sand both sides of this
Okay.
until it just barely starts to go in, and then we'll put it in.
So it's
clamp this
always
shit
the
up.
body that will have to move?
Always the body,
Not-
never
never the neck.
Never the neck.
Okay.
We never touch the neck. So he will sand here, count the strokes, 30 here, 30 here, until the neck just barely starts to go in, and then the rest of it is pressure. So this has a lot of pressure on it. And then we put the screws in with the clamp.
Okay.
That's pretty cool shit, huh?
At least you can say that's a very solid connection.
Well, not only do we do that, but when I make the necks, one of the things I do is I'll make this perfectly flat.
Okay.
This will be sanded on a piece of tool steel with sandpaper on it, so it's perfectly flat. Then we will also sand this perfectly flat with these blocks here. And we make this connection absolutely perfect. You cannot fit a piece of paper in there, at least when it leaves the factory. It is a solid connection. And we lacquer this.
Yep.
And we lacquer this. So not only do you get a solid, flat, perfect connection, but you also get the lacquer on lacquer, which
Okay.
kind of
Yep.
compresses and makes it even more perfect. So there's no grain pockets left,
Okay.
you know. And so when we're done, this connection here is about as good as it can get. Took the curly part and put it on the headstock. We always try and match the grain to the headstock.
Yep. Okay.
You know? So you'll notice that it's straight as an arrow and then kind of curls off. You don't always get that, but when we can, we do.
Yeah.
You know. So we make the bridge.
Yep.
The saddles.
Mm-hmm.
The springs are custom. The screws are custom. This will, even the set screws we buy custom. And our pickup.
Is there a specific reason why you didn't go to 6?
Yeah, because
Position?
I like the way this sounds.
Okay. So do
This
you
sounds
think
better.
more material for double
It's
string
just
thing is
you get some connection between the two strings
okay?
that creates its own sort of vintage style sound, which
Okay.
I love.
Okay.
You get what crosstalk, I guess you would call it. That's a beautiful nitrocellulose finish. Hand rubbed out. I mean,
You're gonna see that at NAMM?
yeah, this
Okay.
is going to NAMM.
An der Stelle wollen wir Lenz auch alleine lassen, denn für die NAMM 3 Tage später hat er noch einiges zu tun. Wünsche ihm viel Erfolg und uns viel Spaß mit den Gitarren. Bis dann.